Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Gameroom Discourse podcast. My name is Mike,
I'm James.
And I'm Joey.
and welcome back. Sorry for the little delay. I was sick for 1 week, really bad, and then it was Easter, and then I was sick again. So it's been a wild time, and James was also sick at one point. So we're good
Spring,
now.
everyone. Spring.
Yep.
Thanks to all of you fucktards who didn't watch Star Fox because that didn't get any views. I didn't think I'd be that right when we started it. It got 5 views, and I know for a fact 3 of them are me. So,
One of them made.
so of the 3 of us, at least at max, there were only 2 other people that watched it, which sucks, because I'm passionate about Star Fox. But I did acknowledge that it was going to happen. Anyway, you fuckers, today you're in for a treat because we've had the debate of best games of franchises, best games of all times. We've done all that before. And at one point, at least in each episode, we probably mentioned the difference between best games and most influential games. Because, yes, there is a difference. An influential game doesn't have to be good, doesn't have to hold up. Best games of all time are good no matter when you play them. But if it holds up, doesn't always mean it's as good. If it's important, it doesn't always mean it holds up. Don't touch anything. Also, I'm with my girlfriend. We're on vacation. So if you hear me say something that probably doesn't sound right, that's my girl, me talking to her. She has the brain of a peanut.
Wow. Wow.
I love her to death, but she's the one who told me to say it. So
Can I start
Anyway.
with one of mine that might be the most... I don't want to have it later.
yeah,
but
so
right-
we do have some honorable mentions. I think I have more than anybody else because I'm indecisive as shit. But I think we're gonna throw it to James first, and then Joey, and then I'll finish it off.
I have one honorable mention, and that would be the Madden games, or,
Oh,
sports games and the like.
right.
They're probably
Okay.
the ones that have, the most advertisements for the games, and, they
I do
probably...
remember liking one of the Madden games, but I think you're right to put
Yes.
them all in a group because they're all kind of the same.
They're all kind of the same. They're also the first kind of games that have actual ads in them,
Yeah, that's true.
Pepsi's ads and stuff, actually self-promoting ones of oh yes, these are EA games and stuff like that in them.
Right.
And they probably also
Were they always
showed
sorry to cut you off. Were they always EA from the very beginning?
for Madden. They did have other before that, but they weren't EA at that point, I believe.
Got it.
But they weren't really Madden at that point either. Basically, it was
True.
a full
Okay. Like Tech
franchise
Mobile wasn't necessarily EA, but it definitely
Exactly.
influenced Madden. Right. Okay.
in the sense of what the games did is, oh, we can basically remake the same game and maybe just
Right.
tighten everything up, or you don't really have to add anything super new to it for it to
Yeah,
work.
they really hit a gold mine there.
Yeah, exactly. They figured
Efficient
that
gameplay and little effort. They
in
found a
yearly
gold mine.
releases,
Yeah, it was insane.
and it works. And
To
I
the point
mean,
where it
some
became a
games
curse for a lot of sports.
it gave a lot of gave a lot of curse for a lot of games in general, like Call of Duty
Yeah.
games. I
The
mean,
Madden curse. Remember the Madden curse?
yeah.
Every player on the cover got hurt or something like
yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Was that just Madden or was it others as well?
I think it was in 2K as well.
Gotcha.
It was very unfortunate. But also,
Please.
I also want to say it also happened for WWE games as well, because I do remember.
That's right. I remember you do love WWE. I've never been a fan, just because I know it's fake and I couldn't enjoy the games.
The
when
storylines were the
found out.
best though. I found them really entertaining.
I knew I know the new one was really good because you could make any character you wanted.
Yeah, that's really
no
the
matter
only thing
how crazy you wanted it to be.
that was one of the few things that they really have now. I liked all the ones before they became the 2K WWE
Right.
series. I loved them a lot.
Joey, I know you liked the WWE as well with James. You and him, or no, was that Kevin?
It was Kevin.
That was Kevin, wasn't it?
Joey
Yeah,
also
I was there
enjoyed
for the
some
ride.
screwing around. He enjoyed
Yeah, but it was
screwing around
mainly
with it.
Kevin. It was mainly Kevin
Yeah.
though, right?
Yeah, we
Yeah.
me and Kevin would
My
go
bad.
in and just make the craziest stuff, characters, Long Boy, Spider Batman.
Oh yeah, Long Boy. Oh my god, that's insane. I forgot about that.
I was actually just talking to a coworker about this. Like, you can make the games fun, but at the same time, you have to add the new content.
Yeah, exactly.
You unfortunately aren't going to get too much new content out of it.
It's like modding. Sometimes that's worth
So that's
it.
your honorable mention, WWE, or just a 2K EA genre of sport games in general?
Sports games in general, for honestly, they're
So why don't you
really
start with?
influential.
Wait, hold on.
They're
Why don't you start
yeah.
with Tecmo Bowl? Why don't you start with Tecmo Bowl? Because that wasn't that like the original. That's one everybody always remembers. Oh no, I guess there's NES baseball and all those as well. No, you're right.
Yeah.
You're right. I'll let you talk. My bad. You're right. The more I think about it.
I mean, I could move over to my number 10.
No. Well, yeah. Because the honorable mentions, we do have a rule. Like we can't go into them the same amount of time as we would a regular number.
Yeah,
We
I
have to
don't
make
want.
those decisions.
My number 10, and
So number 10.
this used to be number 9 until like I thought of a different game like just before the podcast.
I
This
did the
one's
same for one of mine as well.
I'd like to say Angry Birds is a pretty
Angry Birds.
influential game.
That's crazy. I was
Because
thinking about mobile games too. Yeah, I didn't know if I
it's
should put them or
basically
not.
it's basically the game that showed mobile games could actually
Yeah.
work and be
It
profitable.
was the first like big
Mobile
thing
game.
for mobile games.
That
Angry
and
Birds
Flappy
was the
Bird.
OG. Like Angry
But-
Bird, yeah, Angry Birds,
but-
Flappy Bird, Geometry
but-
Dash,
But Angry
fucking
Birds was
Jetpack Joyride.
profitable, and
Angry
Dear
Birds
L-
made money.
it made so much money, and it's still making so
Yeah.
much money.
Yeah, it's insane.
It's kind of
People
insane
think
about
Candy Crush was the OG, but no.
no
Angry Birds
Angry
was the
Birds.
Candy Crush before Candy
Oh
Crush.
my god, Angry Birds! Multiple
Yeah, I
collabs
remember
with some of their
those.
series. Like
That's
if
so
you're
many
able
games. It was like the
if
first.
you're
Yeah,
able, if you're able to collab with Disney of all things, you know you made it
exactly.
big. If you're able to
Yeah.
stand on equal ground with Disney, you know
Yeah,
you
the
made
Star
it
Wars
big.
one. Holy shit, you're right.
I think this was actually before Star Wars and Disney like combined.
I was thinking that.
it was
Might be.
Disney bought out Star Wars before like Angry Birds was able to like collab with them.
Let me just check that real quick.
We can check it so that way I'm not a liar on the podcast onto the internet. Let's not add another liar onto the internet.
Joey.
Yeah.
Joey, you look up when Angry Birds came out, and I'll look up when Star Wars and Disney shared or got bought. And we'll explain things.
2009 for Angry Birds release date.
2009. That's how long it's been. Holy shit.
Really? I thought it was like
2012 is when Disney bought Star Wars. That's about 3 years.
And 2012 is when Angry Birds Star Wars came out.
Star Wars came out.
Yeah.
So it was very close.
So they probably did have Disney's consent, which is kind of funny. Angry Birds. Star Wars. Yeah, 2012. Wow. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So your number 10 is Angry Birds. That's a good one. I didn't think about. Because I couldn't think if it would be like Fruit Ninja, Jetpack Joyride. Like which one truly
But Angry Birds is
Angry Birds is a good choice.
a definite king amongst the ones, especially when it comes to influence. Oh man.
What's number 9?
Number 9. Now, ranking these exactly of who I want to go number 9, I should probably put Dark Souls then.
Which Dark Souls?
Demon Souls be? Not Dark Souls 1. Dark Souls 1 was the most popular one. Let's say that.
Yeah.
It basically popularized. Okay, this is a hard game. I want to beat it. Kind of like theming for a lot of games.
Mm-hmm.
Especially like the dark, gritty atmosphere. Basically define the this is a hard game kind of culture that's in the video gaming community, and I beat it kind of thing,
Mm-hmm.
especially like having spectacular music, like hard bosses, impressive items, like that kind of thing. It popularized quite a lot.
Right.
I feel like it should be talked about a little bit more.
Right. I agree.
Especially like when many games are also being compared to it.
Yeah.
Now
Right.
also for me to go to my number 8, which might take Mike off.
What number 8
Halo.
might make me mad?
Yeah, Halo.
What is it?
Halo.
Halo. You son of a cunt.
Oh
Let's
god.
be honest here.
Really?
Yeah.
Halo, the only thing Halo did was make the Xbox profitable.
It
has
was
been
able
done
to
before.
carry not just the Xbox,
Alright,
but
this
the
isn't
Xbox 360.
the
It was
Microsoft
able.
debate.
It
This
also
isn't a Microsoft debate. You go. I'll be quiet. Explain.
watch the Microsoft debate podcast to know how Mike feels about Microsoft. Anyway, Halo
Yeah, watch
has
the old one to see
pretty
how
much,
I feel.
pretty much the originator also of like alternative shooter in terms of like actually doing stuff that isn't just gunning down people, but having the power weapons, moving around in vehicles, and having that very toxic Xbox Live chat. I feel like that has defined it better than Call of Duty, I would say.
I think
As much
Oh,
as Call of
that's your number 2? That was your
Hmm?
Call. All right.
No, not Call of Duty.
Call of Duty wasn't your number. Wasn't your
Was it? It's
wasn't your
not on my
competition
list.
for Halo? No. Like NHL, like Halo. Your competition to Halo's genre was Call of Duty or wasn't Call of Duty?
Listen, I have another first-person shooter on here, but it isn't Call of Duty.
All right, there's hope for you.
I have all
Continue.
3.
There's hope
Listen.
for you both. Let's go.
No, I have Halo, I have another first-person shooter, and I have Call of Duty on my list.
Listen,
There's
I just
hope for both
couldn't
of you.
I couldn't put 3
The
first-person
Panthers
shooters.
won.
Oh my god.
Okay, cool.
Hold on. James, you're a sports fan. You're a Philly guy. You hate the Bruins, right?
Yeah.
Did you hear about the Boston Bruins season this year? How amazing they were.
Yeah.
They had set an NHL record of how good they were. They lost 12 games this year. That's it. 12. They won 60 fucking 5. It was insane. They just lost in the first round of the playoffs to the fucking Florida Panthers in Game 7.
Also,
That's
basically to date
amazing.
where we are, to date what time it is.
Today, what time it is? The Panthers just beat the Bruins in the 2023 Santa Cup playoffs first round, which is that gives me so much joy. All right, go on.
Okay.
Sorry, enough sports.
Let me
Talk about Halo. You cunt.
I already did. Like, it also has alternative guns, like alternative ways of like winning, and also popularized alternative playing objectives in the game mode rather than just killing each other. Which is pretty cool. Adding alternative game styles. And now let's move on to my number 7 because I want to, which is also the other first-person shooter game I have on here. Doom.
Okay, your
basically
soul is saved.
the father of the FPS genre, basically.
I didn't
Not the first
expect you to win this, but you did. Good job. All right, you're back in my good graces.
Congratulations.
I mean, still getting games today. I mean, traveling down dungeon for shooting. Probably the most iconic shotguns in video game history. Probably the most iconic guns in video game in general.
Yep.
As well as it still stands out amongst a crowd of other FPS games just due to how the game is structured and the enemies you fight, as well as having the most iconic FPS main character in Doom Guy / Doom Slayer. Also, the original Doom can also run on everything, so that was also still a pretty funny thing. How easy it is to run.
Mm-hmm.
And also doing the health power ups, It basically popularized FPS. So there's that. Now we'll put this one right above it in Final Fantasy.
Is this 6 or 5?
I just want to say Final Fantasy in general.
No, is this number 6 or number 5?
This is number 6.
Okay, gotcha. Go on. I agree.
Final Fantasy, pretty much one of the OG RPGs. I mean, definitely spread it across the video game genre because of it. It defined classes, building a team, turn-based combat, and like a bunch of archetypes that a bunch of RPGs like still borrow from till this day. I mean, spell casting, and heck, they're of course still, having video games to this day, and they even added a real-time combat mechanic for their latest games, which isn't that bad. Pretty alright.
I agree.
What a way to
Sorry.
agree. What a way to agree.
I'm sorry.
I feel like most people have also played Final Fantasy, and whenever a game does come out, it feels like, dear Lord, it leaves a huge impact, regardless of whether or not it's good or bad.
Yeah.
Because I can't say like all of them were good, but they did leave a big impact. Like
I agree.
Final Fantasy 13, and then there
I
was Final Fantasy
disagree.
14, and then
I'd
there's
say
Final Fantasy 15, Final Fantasy 7, Final Fantasy.
Okay.
I mean, they all leave a big impact. Come on.
whether positive or negative.
Whether it's I was gonna say,
Whether it's
Joe, you took
positive
the words
or
out of my mouth.
Yeah, I
Good or
stole the
bad,
words.
they always leave an
I am a
impact.
thief.
Like I said, whether good or bad, it always leaves a big impact.
Yeah.
Oh man. Now let's go to 5.
Number
I
5
probably-
for James is
Actually, yeah. Let's put Street Fighter here. Why not?
Street Fighter.
The
Good
OG,
choice.
the originator of fighting games. I mean,
It's debatable.
it's debatable, yes. But if anyone were to say which was the OG fighting game, I'm pretty sure a lot of people would point to Street Fighter first.
Or Yi Kung
Heavyweight
Fu.
champ.
Hmm?
Heavyweight
What
champ.
is Heavyweight Jam?
In
What the fuck is that?
1976.
Yi
That's
Kung
kind of
Fu.
crazy.
That's another one.
Karate champ was
Jam.
next.
I don't even
Wow.
freaking see.
Okay, let's
Back
just
to the
agree that
heavyweight
Street
champ?
Fighter was like the mostly popular. It's
This
a
is popular.
it's
Hold
a
on,
It's the
hold on,
biggest
hold on.
popular.
Listen, wait, listen. Blah, 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 blah. The first video game to feature fist fighting was Heavyweight Champ in 1976, but it was Karate Champ, the sequel, that popularized the one-on-one fighting game genre at arcades in 1984. Released
Okay.
later, different game. In 1987, Street Fighter introduced special attacks. In 1991, the highly successful sequel Street Fighter II refined and popularized many of the conventions of the genre, including combos.
It was exactly.
yeah.
That's what I wanted to point out. No other
So-
game had combos, special moves,
Yeah,
or
so
what you
Heavyweight
think
Champ was the
actual fighting
first one,
game.
but Street Fighter was definitely the influence.
The one that when you think of an actual fighting game, you would point at Street Fighter first.
Let me ask you a question, because listen, guys, I'm a Smash player. All three of us are, but these two are actual fighting game players. I've only ever played Street Fighter, or not Street Fighter, Smash, but then also Marvel vs. Capcom 3. And these two tried to teach me Street Fighter, and it didn't go well. I'm not good at it. So these two know what they're talking about. But let me ask you a question. What would you say is the more influential game? Street Fighter or Street Fighter 2?
Street Fighter 2.
Out of the two. That's Street
You would
Fighter
say
1 was
2?
the 2, yes, easily. That's where combos started and special moves as well.
I've played one with friends. It is god awful.
God awful. It's god awful.
So
There
you
are
would
no
say
combos.
you hold up better, but they're both really good.
Street Fighter 1 was game changing. Street Fighter 2 was
Fighter
game
2
changing from the original game.
Yeah.
Street Fighter 1 was game changing, but Street Fighter 2 was genre changing.
It was game defining, as in the game, all video game defining, I would say. It's the one that made fighting games what it is today. And also, because of Street Fighter and because of Evil Moment 37, competitive gaming itself was taken a lot more seriously.
Yeah, you're right.
Because people were able to see, oh, you there actually has to be like a lot of practice and skill put into this like hobby, into this like pastime.
It takes a lot of time to get good at it. It takes
You're
a lot
right.
of time just to have fun with it.
Just to have fun with it.
That's important.
I wouldn't even say competitive fighting. It's just competitive gaming in general, in like any sense, where it's to like be taken
Wait, was
seriously.
Street Fighter your 4 or your 5?
My 5, I'm pretty sure.
Gotcha. All right. My bad.
I still have 4 more, and my 4th one will be Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time. I was waiting for it, but yeah.
Damn. Yeah, I'm good. I'm impressed by how similar our lists have been. How many of the same games have been on both of our lists?
It's kind
That's
of hard
impressive.
to argue some of the games because they really
Yeah.
are just that. It just shows how good they are. I mean,
Yeah.
I personally think Majora's Mask is a better Zelda game, but literally it wouldn't have happened if Zelda: Ocarina of Time didn't happen.
Yep.
With
You're right.
open world games and definer of 3D games and platforming, as well as getting probably Legend of Zelda is the best one in terms of like having an inventory, and it was best seen probably in Ocarina of Time.
I love you. Yeah, you're probably right. I gotta admit.
It not only defined Zelda as a game, and it just defined multiple games. Like I said before, like Dark Souls. Really, I feel like Dark Souls was defined by Legend of Zelda a little bit because it's just
Surprised you say Dark Souls instead of a different franchise beginning with the letter D. But
there's other ones,
I don't
but I'm
disagree.
saying from
But,
on
yeah.
my lists that I've mentioned, it has influenced other game changing games.
I agree. You're definitely right. I haven't had too many issues with your list.
Now we're going
I
to
almost had one, which would have been Halo, but then you put Doom
No.
ahead of it. So I was like, all right.
Yeah. I'm being fair, and
You're
trust me.
cultured.
Now number 3, Minecraft, the block
Alright.
game, the most popular, the most bought game.
Yeah.
Without for a very long time without advertising or a hard copy. For
That's the craziest part.
I'm pretty sure over a decade that it took before it got a hard copy or any kind of advertising.
A hard copy. Well, no, it definitely got advertising when it got bought by Microsoft. But remember, it didn't initially get a hard copy when it got bought.
Yeah.
But I would say 2014, 2015, it started to have, people that were recommending it at the very least. Because I got recommended it in freshman year of high school. And maybe 8th grade. Like 2014,
it mostly
2013.
gained popularity with not through ads still, mostly through
for word of mouth. Yeah, you're right.
The word of mouth. And probably my biggest point on this, it's literally has the most watch time for any kind of video on YouTube.
Yeah,
It's
I
the
know.
most
Isn't that
watched
insane?
video. Yes, exactly. Like it beats out everything else.
Yep.
Minecraft is the most watched kind of video on YouTube.
Yep. It's crazy.
It keeps going strong. It's still technically the same.
There's so much you can do with it.
Exactly. And there's more modes added and a bunch of servers you can join. And heck, I feel like it's like my other 2 ones that are above it. It's everyone knows of it. Actually, I feel like it's really hard to avoid Minecraft as something I feel like it's one of the kinds of games that you will not go without living a life seeing, even if you don't play video games. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, exactly.
My next one is big on that in Pokemon.
Oh my god, that's gonna fuck my whole list. I totally forgot about Pokemon.
Dude, Pokemon has probably the best merchandising game out of any game, even my number one. In terms of like, dear lord, how much merchandising they
I have
have
to
on
change my
Pokemon
list.
alone. On spin-offs, in terms of like plushies, in terms of movies, in terms of shows, the card game, the all the freaking other stuff, the freaking songs they've sold.
Yeah,
Heck, the
you're not
anime's still
kidding.
going on with it with new protagonists, but the anime's still going on since freaking so many figurines as well. Literally, I'm pretty sure you can ask anyone who Pikachu is, and they'll be able to give you a solid answer.
I
Again, like
remember.
I said,
Yeah, I remember there was a joke online where it's like he calling all the different Pokemon the wrong names, but he got Pikachu right.
Pikachu, right? Exactly.
Yep.
Pikachu is one that you never get wrong. It's just a fact of life that you know Pikachu.
In fact, a majority
You
of the
might not even
time,
know.
when you
Yeah,
get it wrong, you call a wrong Pokemon Pikachu.
Pikachu. Exactly. If you call everything Pikachu, you technically will be right because everyone just knows Pikachu. Now, for the most influential game, and I feel like this is not a really hard one to like guess, Mario. Specifically,
Which
probably
one?
Super Mario Bros.
For the NES?
Yeah,
For SNES, I mean? Which
yeah,
one was it?
NES.
NES. Literally defined the I shouldn't. It defined the platforming genre, as well as like the
Yeah.
thing I said before. Everyone knows who Mario is.
Oh, yeah.
Everyone knows who Mario is. When you think of video game,
Yeah.
most people would probably think Mario. It's like it's also probably like one of the most like easy like things that if someone has definitely played a game from a Mario series or a game where Mario was in it. It's very hard
Yep.
to like, oh, I played Super Smash Brothers. Oh, I played Super Mario Bros. Oh, I played Mario Kart, Mario Party. It's
Yep.
it's a very like, how do I say this? A very welcoming franchise of like, yeah, everyone's played this. Who cares?
Yeah.
Everyone has played
Thank you, babe.
something from Mario, and that's like for all of their games.
Right.
It's I feel like I really, but you understand what I'm saying. Why Mario's my number
Oh,
one.
yeah.
It is easily the
It's
most
your number two or
influential.
number one?
It's my number one. Pokemon was my
Ah,
number two.
got it.
Minecraft being number three. Going over my list now, basically. Zelda as my number four. Number five being Street Fighter. Six being Final Fantasy. Seven being Doom. Eight being Halo. Nine being Angry Birds. 10 being Dark Souls. My honorable mention for Madden and sports games alike.
Got it.
Just to re-go over my list, just in case if you made it
Yeah.
here at the 30-minute mark and want to not have to backtrack.
All right, Joey, who do you want to go next?
I'll go.
Awesome.
Okay, so mine is
Do
not
you have any
ordered.
comment? Wait. Do you have any comments for James?
I mean, he already had some that were on mine, so I'll mention it when I get to it.
Okay.
Okay, since this is
go.
unordered, I'll go into the first one, Luigi's Mansion.
Understandable.
Influential? Wait. I don't understand. Explain.
Well, it's influential in a niche sort of way where... Okay,
I
listen to me.
agree.
You agree?
Yeah.
It's probably the
showed
most
that-
popular spin-off game.
It showed that like it doesn't. You don't need the biggest name to make something successful.
Or to even
Luigi
make a
was
good.
known.
Yeah,
Luigi was known as Mario's brother, but that's all he was Mario's brother.
and
Now
you
you knew his name.
can also take the craziest idea you ever want and make it into an amazing game.
Yeah, you're right.
Fair enough.
Like nobody would have
That makes
expected like
sense.
Luigi's Mansion. What, you have a vacuum and a flashlight? What the hell's going on?
Yeah, imagine it. Yeah, imagine like you couldn't do that with Diddy's Mansion or Master Chief's Mansion or Jack and or like so Daxter's Mansion. Like it wouldn't have sold
You
nearly as well.
successfully made a spin-off franchise
Yeah,
with that.
Yeah, there are 3 games in the series.
that's true. I have a different one that I think did that a little better, but I agree. Yeah.
The next one would probably be. I'm gonna start with like the niche ones that like.
Okay.
Yeah, Kirby 64.
Well, I hard disagree, but okay.
I mean, it was the first Kirby game that actually introduced like combo abilities where you combine one with another. It was influential for the Kirby series. Plus, it also
Yeah.
kind of introduced the idea of, oh hey, you can have 3D in 2D?
You're right. You're right.
No, I think
They didn't have
Star
a
Fox
lot of
64
2D.
did that better.
Not really.
Star Fox 64, I think, did the best showing off 3D on the N64.
3D and 2D, like a 2D platformer. 2.5D. Would that be better?
Oh,
Not like
Okay.
that, but not like Kirby.
so like
64.
Paper Mario.
Kind
Yeah,
of.
but
Paper
I'm pretty
Mario
sure
still has 3D movement.
Okay, like Super Paper Mario, where it's like that's a whole gimmick.
Also kind of not on the right track.
Damn
It's basically classic 2D, but it's using 3D models and 3D environments. So you
So like
only
Donkey Kong Country.
Donkey
Okay.
Kong Country like returns,
Got it.
yeah. Where the view kind of shifts, but you're mostly just moving left, right, and up.
To be
Right,
fair,
you're right.
that entire reason is also why Smash works.
Yes.
You're right.
Because,
Smash only
it's
works
made by the
because of
same
3D
person.
polygons. Yeah, Sakurai.
Yep. And I mean, that's kind of it. I kind of put myself in the situation where, hey, games in this list, I'm gonna put in ones that I enjoyed, and then I really quickly ran out.
Yeah, you've never been a big top 10 ordered kind of person. You just pick 10 that you think are the best.
Yes. Or that I
Which I
like.
appreciate.
That I at
I
least,
respect that.
yeah, that I like. Okay, this one is going to be very weird, but if you know the like recent resurgence in puzzle games, you know why I chose this. Baba Is You.
Nope.
What is that?
Right.
Okay
Same.
then.
Please represent the puzzle enjoyers, Joey.
Okay, Baba Is You is a kind of top-down puzzle game where you have all these bunch of words and icons, and if you have blank and then is and then you in that order, either left to right or top to bottom, then whatever that blank is in the beginning, that's what you control. And then it becomes this whole thing of like programming, and Baba is not you, and then there's thing of like stage is not empty or empty is you, and then it gets into this whole thing where the stages and the whole world map start to become puzzles.
Well then.
And it kind of revolutionized the whole idea of like, hey, you know these puzzle games, how they're like put into these little holes and you do them in stages? How about they're not? Like the stage can be the puzzle and it can be as complex as like programming.
I have to agree.
That's interesting.
I have a different puzzle game, but I agree.
Yeah. But I mean, I really enjoyed my time with the game, and yeah. Okay. What else should I do? I guess I'll just mention Ocarina of Time / Majora's Mask.
Fair enough.
No, I think Ocarina had the Majora and Ocarina are both, I think, equally influential to future games. But I think Ocarina gets the edge because Majora wouldn't physically exist without Ocarina.
Yes.
So I think I'd give the Ocarina the edge. Majora's the better game. Let's not kid ourselves here. Majora's
It's
the
a better
game.
Ocarina time. It's a better Ocarina
Yeah,
time.
like
But it
there's
wouldn't-
no real question. But it wouldn't exist without Ocarina of Time. So I think that gives Ocarina the edge as far as influential. But it's your list. Go
Can't wait to hear your opinion on Tears of the Kingdom. Okay.
on.
Okay.
I'm excited for that.
It's basically just a repeat where
Mhm.
Ocarina of Time, it's very influential with the way that it goes around like dungeon crawling and Zelda, but in 3D? What the hell?
Water sucks.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Listen, it's just gonna hopefully be better. Just better. Why can't I remember?
It definitely
the phrase?
showed what not to do for a water dungeon.
Then Majora's Mask, I would say, is influential in its own right because it showed what to do in a water level.
Yeah,
Yep.
exactly.
And not only that, being a character that can shapeshift into different characters with fun movement mechanics, including the mask system and then the day cycle or day-night cycle, 3 days. It's
3
kind
days
of
was such an interesting way to create an element of fear and uneasiness.
yeah.
But it was a great mechanic for the game in terms of like giving you a deadline to like actually get shit done in the game.
Yep.
Yeah, you're right.
It's
Like
just
it made you actually worry.
it's like
Mhm.
Ocarina of Time is more influential in general, but I think Majora's Mask is better and influential at the same time. Not more influential, but just also influential.
A
I
better
see what you
game.
mean.
It's a better game, but not as influential as Ocarina of Time.
Yes.
Let's say that.
Yeah, but I understand what you're saying.
Yes. Okay. Another one that has already been mentioned before, Halo.
Hey,
In a thing where all that you were shooting was like humans or I guess demons in a sense, and it was supposed to be like dark. All the popular ones were dark and gritty, like Call of Duty or I'd say Doom and Wolfenstein.
Yeah.
Halo came in
Yeah.
and wow, the music is amazing and it's not all like hardcore metal. I'm not saying that's a deterrent. That's not a detraction. It's just different. Different
Right.
does not mean better or worse.
you made gospel
But it is better.
fucking badass.
Yeah, it is better. Let's not lie to ourselves.
That's an opinion. Yeah, you lie to me all you want. Well, I'll just.
Halo is just great.
I mean,
Halo
it's
is great.
amazing. It's got
It influenced a lot of stuff.
Halo Combat Evolved was.
It openly carried an entire company.
Yeah.
Well, I wouldn't say an entire company, but it definitely because Microsoft definitely was not carried by Halo. I'd say it carried the Xbox.
The Xbox division. The Xbox division was carried.
There you go.
Okay. Let's go on to another short one because the reason I chose this was because, yeah, Black Ops.
Understandable.
It is a really.
Understandable and fair.
It is a very fun game and introduced the whole idea of zombies and cooperative shooting play, where it's PvE, players versus enemies, like CPUs. It's not just people shooting people or all these arenas. It's I know
like
you don't agree with me.
I feel like you might be a little bit wrong on it being one to introduce zombies.
It didn't introduce it, but it popularized it. Like
You're right.
everybody was talking about COD zombies. It was like all over YouTube and shit like that. Plus, I mean, I liked it, so hey.
That's very fair. Black Ops 2 is
Basic-ass
better,
bitch.
but Black Ops 1 did start it, and honestly, pretty good game. Still would go back to it to this day.
Yeah. I'm a basic bitch. Why don't I mention
I
the? I'll
I
go
literally
into.
played Black Ops 2 earlier this week.
Yeah.
That's so disappointing.
For the zombies, it's good zombies maps.
Zombies are great. Everything else is kind of eh.
I couldn't find a match though, which was I couldn't find like a multiplayer match though, which was unfortunate.
Most of the people who play Black Ops, either if it's on console, then it's dead. If it's on PC, you're gonna need to play Plutonium.
Yeah.
Okay.
Literally, the only one I was able to play was I was only able to play zombies maps on it. That was it with other people.
Okay, the third first person shooter that I was talking about, Metroid Prime.
Mm-hmm.
Okay then.
Yes. Humanity Restored, Mike?
No, because Metroid Prime isn't the most influential shooter, but the fact that it is above the likes of Call of Duty and Halo does make me happy.
It's not above it. This is an unordered list.
Right.
You did forget.
I think, yeah. I mean, it was influential in the sense of how, like, people didn't realize they wanted Metroid in 3D. In fact, they hated the idea until this game came out.
I agree.
It was game-changing for the Metroid games.
Well, yeah, obviously.
Yeah. And I mean, without it, we would have gotten Federation for... Oh, wait. Okay.
You hit a sore spot for him.
Yeah, I know. Okay, I have 3 left.
Got it.
Go for it.
Cunt.
God damn it. Fuck you. Okay.
They caught me off guard.
Yeah, you're definitely drunk.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
Okay, so the third to last one that I'll mention is Guitar Hero.
That's a good one. I wasn't sure, but yeah, that's a good one. Glad somebody said it.
It not only allowed for actual, like, controller peripherals to be in the mainstream, actually viable and amazing, but it...
Remember when everybody, like, that was the party game?
Yep.
Yeah.
Like that, like Guitar Hero was the cool person party game.
Yeah.
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 And before then, if you wanted a rhythm game experience, you kind of needed to go to, like, arcades or play a niche game like...
Play dates.
Yeah, Beatmania, other things, where now everybody played Guitar Hero. You went to somebody's house and they had a PS2. 9 times out of 10, they had Guitar Hero.
They had Guitar Hero.
Yep.
Guitar Hero or Rock Band, the equivalent. Where they added different peripherals.
Yes.
And singing, so I mean...
Yeah.
The only other peripheral game that was actually famous for that, which I didn't mention, was Duck Hunt. And, you know...
Yeah.
That didn't
Duck Hunt's
exactly
really
get a sequel. That didn't exactly get a sequel though, which is unfortunate.
Yeah.
But it was inspirational. But
It was
I don't
inspirational.
really.
My honorable mention to go. Another honorable mention for me.
Yay.
We did make a rule that we had to kind of do like modern era. Like we couldn't go all the way back to like Pong and stuff like that, because then every game would be influential.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, it was hard for me because I don't really enjoy anything like NES. And that's where most of the influential stuff is.
Right.
It's fine.
You're right.
It's fine.
Okay. Second to last one is going to be Symphony of the Night.
You right, Castlevania 3.
Oh, I know that original Castlevania kind of introduced this whole idea of Castlevania, and it was game-changing. And then there was also Metroid, and it introduced this whole fact of Metroid stuff. And then Symphony of the Night combined the both of them, where it's a sort of linear path, but you get to go off the path of that, and there are upgrades that you can get, keys that you can unlock, and it kind of introduced and solidified the whole idea of Metroidvania.
Pretty
No,
good. It's
you're
also
wrong.
like the
Okay,
also the best
which game
Castlevania.
introduced the whole genre of Metroidvania, combining the two seamlessly?
No, I disagree. I think. I
Damn.
think. I mean, of course, like obviously, I think the original Castlevania has to be the one, but I would have settled for Super Castlevania 4.
Never played it.
I just think that like those are the games that are like you wouldn't even have Castlevanias if these games didn't do as well as they did and weren't as important as they were. But I digress. It's your list.
Yeah.
I definitely say that Symphony Night though made Castlevania a lot more popular though.
Yes.
No, it redid it and remade it popular.
I feel. Let me put it this way: it was popular amongst the gaming community before then, but after that, it was just straight up popular. Like multiple people actually knew what
So
Castlevania
Symphony of
was.
the Night brought it back. You're right.
Yeah. Also, are we really gonna say that Castlevania 2 is more influential?
No.
No.
I said Super Castlevania 4.
I know. I'm just mentioning Castlevania 2 because
Castlevania 2 is a good game. I genuinely believe it's a good game with some stupid features. I agree, but it was a black sheep, kind of like Zelda 2. It didn't lead to a lot. It was a good game on its own, but it didn't lead to a lot of inspiration.
yeah.
Yeah. I'd also, like to point out that it basically did also revive Castlevania because
So I
pretty
get
sick.
it.
Yeah.
I never played Symphony. I've played Aria of Sorrow.
I have as well. Symphony is really good.
Isn't it AR? Isn't it like action based, not like like side scrolling combat?
No, it's side scrolling.
Rolling.
It's Alucard though, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Really good.
If you played Aria of Sorrow, you'll love Symphony of the Night. I know, having played both of them and loved both of them.
Right. I do want to play Symphony. I know it's going to be good.
Yeah. In the era
All right, what's
of
your last one, buddy?
I'll
Oh,
no,
sorry,
I'm
what were you saying?
one last
Go
thing.
back.
Let him
What were you
finish.
saying?
In the era
Let it,
of
like go.
in the era of PS1 games where everything was trying to go into 3D and do its own thing, Symphony of the Night
You're
decided
right.
Yeah, Symphony of the Night decided, hey, let's stick with 2D, make it look so much better, and make it play so much better. Because 3D
Because
was
yeah,
a newborn
right.
baby at the time, and
And they
2D.
could
You're
just-
right. You're definitely right.
They could put more into 2D instead of going into 3D. They just amped up 2D to the max.
Because they had the technology and they just didn't realize it.
We have the technology.
No, it's D.
Yeah,
But you know
you're
what
right.
we're gonna do? We're gonna make it even more core. Let's go.
Okay, after hyping up
I didn't
2D
think of
so
that.
after hyping 2D so much, my last game is going to be Super Mario 64.
Oh, fuck
You know what?
you.
That's a good one.
Let me
a
guess,
good
that's
one.
on your
a good
list
one.
too.
As your number one?
Not this is unordered. How many times do I have to say this?
I know, but I feel like
It
you would
isn't
have
his
had
number
one
one.
saved.
It's just
Do you have a number one at least? Do you know what your number one would be?
If
Not
I
in
had
order
so-
number 1 through 10, but like, do you know which one? Is there one that's like you think is above the others?
Yeah, Super Mario 64. And I'm not saying that to
Fucking
spite you.
liar.
That's actually what I think.
Really?
It's
Yeah.
pretty good. It's
All right,
gotten
explain. Go on, explain.
It was in an era where, guess what? 3D is a newborn baby. Super Mario 64 basically landed on its feet after a backflip, doing all these sorts of tricks, and then guess what? People speedrun this game nowadays, and it has so many things that you can do. You can regain momentum. You can hold A and press B multiple times. You can go to parallel universes.
half presses.
Half A
We
press.
could also talk half a press, but also, Mike, we do have to talk about like it is also one of the first games to actually like make varied maps as well as like several different models that actually work well. Like
Also,
to also move well as well. With multiple
yes.
enemies and Mario himself, as well as like actually making decent underwater levels in
Fuck
3D.
off. They were not good.
They were a lot better than other ones at the time.
It was the first one. Super Mario 64 and Zelda 64 both equally sucked with underwater. Don't give me that shit. There's different points to argue. That's not one of them.
I'd
You're
s-
right with the points you argued up until then, but that's not one of them. They were both.
Come
they
on, it
all
even
suck.
has the mechanic of actually restoring your health when you resurface. It's got
Yeah,
a
but
good water mechanic.
controlling it was dog shit.
I mean, it's the whole
Come
thing.
on, don't give me that. Controlling it was awful. When was the last time you played Super Mario 64?
Like a year
It
ago,
was pretty recent for me.
it was in the whatever it is, the 3D Mario collection, and
Right, same.
I fully
Then you should
enjoyed
agree
it.
with me.
No,
I enjoyed it, but you can't tell me that the water controls well.
it's better than
Come
Ocarina.
on.
It's way better than
Ocarina.
Ocarina. I'll tell you that.
Maybe, but you still
Which
can't
came
say
out
Not
it
maybe,
controls well.
100%.
You can't, I get that. I agree that it controls better than Ocarina. But you can't tell me it controls well.
Underwater?
Come on, don't bullshit yourself. It sucks.
It controls fine.
It controls fine. It has good actual 3D
The camera
underwater
makes
moves.
it hellish.
Okay, the camera, I can agree with you, but I
come
found a
on,
way to
yeah.
circumvent it. If you press L, it turns into the Mario camera. If you press down on the C buttons, it actually zooms it out. So guess what? You can see the action and
What
move
did you
things.
play the controller with?
I've played it with multiple things. I played it with an
No. Most recently, was it a GameCube, like a plug-in?
not GameCube. It was probably the Pro controller.
Okay, but I played it on. I recently played it with the N64 thing that they released to go with it. I think you're not remembering how bad that controller is combined with all of it. Like it's
Why are you
not.
gonna use
It's
the
sucks.
N64 controller though?
Because that was the authentic way I thought to play it.
Okay, I'm gonna mention this just now. So you only played the original version, right?
I played the original N64 version, but then I also played the remake on the 3D collection, and they released a N64 Pro controller for it, and I
Okay.
played it with that to make it like more authentic.
Okay, I'm gonna mention this right now. Super Mario 64 has an incredibly harsh skill curve, where it
does.
it's so steep, but once you start going up, it is fantastic. Because I've put like thousands of hours into not only 64 in general, getting all 120 stars over and over, but I've also played ROM hacks, and they all use the same movement engine. And once
I
you
also do like the DS version. Which is,
That doesn't count.
DS
wow, I just
in the game
It's such a different mechanically. It's such a mechanically different game.
Also, yeah, I'd say original 64 is better because it's the game that introduced the like analog stick to everything and 3D movement with the analog stick, and then the DS just took it away. Like, nah, use the D-pad, motherfucker.
Yeah, exactly.
okay,
Yeah.
fine, I'll give you that one.
Yeah.
But still, yeah, you actually use the analog stick for proper 3D environment, so you know.
It's what got the PS1 and like Sony to adopt the analog stick on their controllers.
Even though it feels hellish to actually use a actual N64 controller, the analog stick was probably the best part about it.
Yeah.
I would have said the back B button
Nah.
The Z button?
or the Z button. Yeah, you know what I mean.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. I mean, when I played it, I used an original N64 controller. I used a Wii U Pro controller.
Yeah, same.
And then I used a Switch Pro controller, and I mean,
I never played it with a Switch Pro. I played it with the GameCube kind of style Pro controller, the original N64, and the N64 Pro controller.
yeah. I don't know. I just really enjoy it. A lot of other people enjoy it, but I guess you have Game Grumps Aaron
I love
opinion.
it. Wait! Don't put that in my mouth, you shit.
What?
We're
love
also
N64.
catching some of your background, just by the way.
What?
Sorry, I
We're
love
catching
the
some of Mike's background.
Sorry. I love Super Mario 64. It's on my games I'm going to talk about, but it's not the most influential of the genre that it was trying to influence, in my opinion.
Considering it was like
But
the first 3D
I
platformer?
acknowledge it. Yeah, but hold up. There are other games that we've explained that aren't the first of its kind but did more for the genre. So that's kind of where I'm at with those.
I feel like in 64 Mario did a lot for the genre.
Yeah.
Yes, but I think something
just-
else also did
just-
more.
Well, there could be stuff that could be more, but at the same time, it was the first.
debate. That's the debate.
it was
That's the point of the podcast.
Basically, it was the first successful, done well 3D game.
Well, that's
which-
not true. I know what you mean, but for the viewers, specify what you mean. That specifically isn't true.
Fully 3D polygonal. We're not talking about Doom where they kind of cheated.
Fully no, you're still wrong. Fully 3D adventure
3D models and making a 3D.
platforming.
Are we talking about
Because-
Bubsy 3D?
I know you both, because we talked about it before. I know you both know what the first 3D game was.
We're talking about the first good 3D platforming game.
Right.
And like actually
I know that.
3D.
But you got to remember, our viewers might not all know that. So I think we should be a little more specific.
Like what I said just now.
What did you say?
Bubsy 3D is valid. Anyway,
Bubsy 3D isn't first.
I know.
Crash and 64 for Super Mario came out before that.
Crash. Crash wasn't even on my radar, I'm going to be honest.
Yeah. Crash is good. It's just not. When
I
you
don't
compare
really-
Crash Bandicoot and Super Mario
Well,
64,
you can't say Crash Bandicoot if if Ocarina and Mario 64 are in the conversation. You can't say Crash because Crash came after. Both of those should
Okay.
definitely be higher.
Okay, so which one are you talking about exactly? In terms of
Neither.
not neither, but what was the one you were the point you were trying to make? Which one has done more than Mario 64? But let's
one that
go
was
into
done
your
before
list.
So, well, this isn't on my list. This isn't a good game at all. I'm just saying, you said it's the first 3D game, and that's not true.
has
I
done
know what you
well.
meant. What you meant was the first successful good 3D game. I know what you meant, but our viewers might not. So I was trying to lead you into Battlezone, which obviously we all know was done 5 or 6 years before Mario 64. But that was the first technical 3D game.
Battlezone.
Battlezone.
okay, that's like a
I don't-
dungeon crawler, and also it's not technically like polygonal 3D.
No. You're wrong. It is technically 3D, but it's not. It's not 3D like what 64 Mario did. So that's why I wanted you to specify. But I think hopefully by now most of our viewers know what we're talking about. But just in case, I want to just
I
mention.
feel like
that it's not
Battlezone hasn't exactly.
No,
done
it's not
enough.
nearly as influential. No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying
Then
just based off
why
of the
bring it
single
up
thing
is
you said.
also our thing.
You're right. But you guys both know you've known me for almost 5 years now. I'm a stickler for details. So
But we weren't making that point.
I know, but I was just making sure. All right. Anyway, so on to my list. Because I'm drunk and I don't know how to keep my mouth shut. I apologize, James. I apologize, Joey. I definitely talked much more than I wanted to during your guys' lists. I would have rather done, my own segment of comments on your guys' list afterward. But I'm drunk. I apologize. Forgive me.
Oh no,
I
this gives us free reign to tear into you now. Anyway.
Yeah,
go
no,
ahead.
it does. It does. Make use of that. Here's the first way to get me. So we agreed on the rules before. I broke the rules. So I have my honorable mentions and my top 10. But there were 3 games that I could put on my honorable mentions above these other 5. I just couldn't. But I thought it was good to mention them. Thankfully, aside from one, you guys mentioned both of them. All 3 of them except for one. So I don't have to explain them anyway. So I got lucky. But I called them AHMs. Almost honorable mentions. My almost honorable mentions, I won't say anything other than the name. As much as I want to, but I can't. It's not fair. Halo? Yeah, I know. As much as I hate it.
Personal
Halo.
bias, getting in the way, understandable.
No, I have reasons, but Halo,
Personal bias.
shut up, Metroid, and Super Mario 64. So you might as well call them my 16, 17, and 18 if we did a top 20. But so that's it for them. You guys explained them except for Metroid, but I can't. So my 5 honorable mentions: Phoenix Wright, Ace Attorney. Why is it on there? It popularized the visual novels more than anything, and I think we've all played them. I've played the most, obviously, but I think we've all played them. Maybe not finished, but at least played them. You know what they are. You know how good they are. So I don't really need to explain it. Diablo 2. James, that was the other one I was saying. You mentioned Dark Souls. I couldn't decide between Dark Souls and Diablo. But, many people would have probably said Diablo 3, but Diablo 3 wouldn't have been nearly as good as it would if Diablo 2 didn't do as good as it did. So I think Diablo 2 is more important because it led to a game that was very influential. Third honorable mention, Pokemon. Specifically Pokemon
Excuse
Red,
me?
Blue. Yep. Pokemon Red, Blue, and Green.
Do you have Pokemon later in your list?
Because I believe there were games that influenced Pokemon. Pokemon wasn't game changing. Pokemon was popularizing, but Pokemon
I'm saying,
yeah.
is there a
Yes.
later Pokemon game? Okay.
No,
I
there's
feel like
not a
it's also
later
gonna.
Pokemon game, but there's games that came before it that you'll agree with because these games that came before it
I don't know if I will. I don't
are
know if I will.
Pokemon popular. You're making me talk more about this than I'm allowed to, but it's your fault. Pokemon popularized to a much broader audience what traditional RPGs could be. However, Pokemon would not exist if not for 2 other games on that I'm about to mention. So for me, a big important factor for me is which games did it first. So it's not always going to be the best of a genre for me. It's going to be the
Oh,
most influential.
I
So
was gonna say.
Pokemon, while very popularizing and obviously the best merchandising, like best sold product ever, I think one of the best. I'm not shitting on that.
I
If we did a best selling list, Pokemon would be top 3, maybe top 2.
I feel like it's had like a bigger impact, but go off with
It
the
has a
rest of
big
your list.
impact. Yes, I agree. But you got to think. I'm thinking about impact as a whole. Pokemon is impactful, yes, but if a game created if there was a game that led to the most important game of all time, wouldn't you think the game that led to it, because it led to the most important game, would also be responsible for everything that came after it? The game that came before is
No,
responsible for everything the
no,
game did.
no.
Because the
Fuck no.
game that came before it wouldn't the game that came after wouldn't exist if the IP hadn't been made.
There's so much other stuff about that.
Yeah,
It's
there's a lot
so
of
wrong,
other
but
things. I agree that, but for what I value more is what ultimately led to each of the games being made.
I
I took a look at all of the games that I thought were influential, and I looked at what games were influenced by these games, and I
so I
valued
should
what
be
games were
so I should
influenced.
be picking Steve Jobs' dad for what Steve Jobs has done, even though he
No,
abandoned him.
no,
Okay then.
because, and you know what? That's a good point because you know how based on logic I am, but I just still disagree because if Steve Jobs' dad had stayed and raised and intended for Steve Jobs to be successful and good, then I would have said yes. But because he abandoned him and he didn't have any faith or any want of that child, I would say no, because he didn't have any intention for Steve Jobs to be good. He didn't want Steve Jobs to be good. Star Fox wanted Star Fox 64 to be good. You know, another game on this list wanted the future to be good. Pokemon, Final Fantasy, all of those RPGs wanted them to be good. It wanted to make the franchise, the genre, big, so that itself would also be successful, but the genre will be successful. And I think that's more important. That's just me. But when I say the games, then you can voice your criticisms. But this is just honorable mentions. So that's Pokemon. Above it, so that's the third one. So it's Phoenix Wright, Diablo 2, and Pokemon as 5, 4, and 3. Then I have Legend of Zelda for the SNES, the original. The only exception to what I just explained for is what became before. The only exception. That's the only one. The only exception to that rule that I just explained.
Oh yes, another.
The only time.
Look, I
This
was
is the only
given
time where I
exception.
think. Yeah, this is the only time that I think that the game before didn't intend, because they had no idea that 3D was going to happen in 1986. They had no idea it was going to be as big as it was. So I think for the game that I have in this franchise that came afterwards, to be ahead of it is because it wasn't intention. It wasn't intended. That wasn't expected. So that's my loophole. Above the Legend
I
of
feel
Zelda.
like I saw a lot of games, but pop off. Go ahead.
Yeah. After the Legend of Zelda, number one honorable mention is Final Fantasy, the original. Final Fantasy came before Pokemon, and without Final Fantasy, Pokemon wouldn't have existed, because there wouldn't have been a reason to make a game like Pokemon if Final Fantasy and a few other RPGs not on Nintendo, or on Nintendo but not made by Nintendo, hadn't given Nintendo a reason to produce something in this genre. So I think Final Fantasy is important, not, and also because of the amount of RPGs inspired by Final Fantasy that we can all agree on. So that's why I think Final Fantasy is a little above Pokemon. So now we go to my top 10.
Give me a minute. Give me a minute. Hold on.
Do you want to comments on my honorable mentions before I go to my top 10?
No, I was trying to clear my throat. Hold on. Okay. Go.
Hold on. James, as far as our
Yeah.
top 10 goes, we share 4 games.
Yeah. It's the other 6 I'm worried about. Anyway, keep going. Go.
Nah, you won't be. You won't be upset about them, but you might. You'll Pokemon. I know will stick with you guys. You'll question that over a couple of these,
I mean,
Yes,
but you'll
yes, I-
agree because we went by different genres, because all 3 of us like different genres. So for me, Metal Gear Solid is number 10 because it influenced the sneak, hide, like spy genre that I like
Stealth.
a lot.
I think that's the word
The
you're looking for. Stealth.
Espionage.
Stealth.
Yeah, stealth.
There you
And I
go.
like that a lot in games. Metal Gear Solid
Okay.
made that very popular.
Popularized to stealth mechanic, understandable.
Yeah, that's number 10. Now, number 9 is complete bias. I'm not going to, say that it's not. I'm not going to pretend that it's not. I'm not going to try to bullshit my way that it's not. It's complete bias in every way. Because what is my favorite video game genre aside from RPGs? Joey, James?
RPGs.
No, aside from RPGs.
JRPGs.
Aside from RPG genre.
Turn-based
What games,
RPGs.
what games do I always talk about that you guys seem to never talk about?
I don't know. Just go.
Story games?
Just say it.
Horror games.
Ah, horror. Okay.
Horror. Horror is my favorite genre of media. My favorite genre of games is RPGs. My favorite genre of movies and TV is action and like science fiction. But overall, of all media in general, like books, art, movies, games, all of it, the highest rating is horror. Horror is my most consistent, like, good thing. I love horror. So number 9 is definitely biased. You guys wouldn't have thought of this. Number 9 is Amnesia: The Dark Descent. It truly changed the genre of horror. Resident Evil, Silent Hill are phenomenal, but Amnesia influenced the genre as an indie game far more than any other game that I think of. And it also helps that Amnesia is the kind of horror that I enjoy the most. Psychological, mindfucky.
Yeah.
Like, Amnesia was the big horror PC game after Slender. That was the big one. Amnesia. You haven't played Amnesia? Have you done Amnesia? Amnesia's so good. It's crazy what it did to horror. Amnesia was next. I think that more horror games, were influenced by Amnesia: The Dark Descent than any other horror game. You could argue Five Nights at Freddy's, but I would argue that Five Nights at Freddy's is more of a thriller because it's not, unless you look at the lore, which isn't technically canon. Unless you look at the lore, again, which isn't technically canon, I would say that Five Nights at Freddy's is more of a thriller because it's just jump scares.
Okay, but I also would probably consider Five Nights at Freddy's more influential than Amnesia. If I'm gonna be honest with you. considering
But
the, like,
how many
the amount of
successful
games and
games?
also
How many successful games came from Five Nights at Freddy's? There was a lot of spin-off indie one-offs. How many successful horror games came from Five Nights?
So there was
If we
Five
count
Nights at
all those-
Freddy's, Five Nights at Freddy's 2, Five Nights at Freddy's 3, Five Nights at Freddy's
Freddy's
No,
4.
the franchise,
Four.
you dick.
Okay, and how many Amnesia games were there?
Amnesia
And
Dark
how
Descent,
many
and then
Five Nights at Freddy's clones have there been, or
many,
obviously
but
influenced by
listen to the
Five
names
Nights at
of games.
Freddy's?
Listen to the names of games influenced by Amnesia Dark Descent. Amnesia Dark Descent was the first one, and then there was a bunch of custom stories that weren't canon, and then it took many, many years of it being successful for it to finally get a sequel, Machine for Pigs. So it had a lot of time to be successful before that by itself. It influenced Outlast, Penumbra, multiple Silent Hill games, Resident Evil 7 or 8, Resident Evil 7 or 8, Cry of Fear, SCP, Containment Breach was influenced by this.
I
There's a
feel like
lot of games.
SPC was, influenced by SCP.
Yes, but the physical game, not the stories a lot, but the gameplay of SCP Containment Breach was influenced a lot by Amnesia.
Fair enough.
Because a lot of SCP Containment Breach is a lot of objects with story behind them or with things behind them, like the objects. It's not necessarily a lot of creatures. There are some, like Amnesia, but it's influenced by the tunnely hallways, the use of atmosphere and sound, more so than just regular jump scares. But again,
Okay, go to
I've
number 8.
played a
Go to your
lot
number
more
8.
of horror. Yeah.
Go to your number
Again,
8.
number 8 is Earthbound. Now this is the only debatable one that I have on here in my mind. You could put Earthbound, you could put, Mother 1 or Mother 3. I picked Earthbound because it's the one that most people played. So that's kind of what led to that decision. But just look up the amount of games influenced by Earthbound, and I don't really need to say much more. It's crazy. Like, you wouldn't even think of so many. Final Fantasy VII wouldn't exist if the game creators hadn't played Earthbound. That's a fact. It's insane. Think of how many legacy titles wouldn't exist if not for this game. And people played Final Fantasy VII and Dragon Quest VIII and Pokemon and Undertale and all of these things more than Earthbound.
Sans?
Yep,
Sans
Undertale wouldn't exist without Earthbound. Undertale. Think of the impact Undertale had. Like, that's
So
everything.
Earthbound's entitled to that impact.
Yes, I would say so because
it was
it's
influenced
responsible
by that.
for it. It's responsible for it. If that game wouldn't exist, we wouldn't experience the extreme impact that Undertale had. So that game owed some credit, I would say.
Nah, fam, nah.
Really.
Nah.
I do agree with
You
you,
don't
Mike.
think that
It's just I didn't
Yeah.
like the game.
Right, but you and I have disagreed on why the game was good or bad, but you still always agreed that the game was important and influential.
I feel like that's unfair
Is this
to
what-
Undertale.
Is this one of the
which
few times that Joey and I are on the same side and James is not?
I guess so.
I would like to make a point
You can make a point. I'm listening.
that Earthbound wasn't the only thing that influenced all those games,
You're correct.
and
Good
thus
point.
it doesn't deserve the impact or even the full impact of what it did. Because when you say it
You're
deserves the
correct.
impact, I would like to say, bruh, absolutely not. It's not like it's not just that. Especially
No,
when you
you're
said
correct.
that Final
Which is why
Fantasy
you have to listen to
VII
the rest of my
was
list.
influenced by that, and I'm just like, but what about the OG Final Fantasy?
You're correct.
Is what I would have to say.
100%.
In that
What about the
instance.
OG Dragon Warrior?
Warriors? Exactly.
Joey.
Yeah.
Joey.
Dragon
You and I-
Quest. I'm like,
Joey. That
Yeah.
is crazy how you just said that.
What?
That's how I know you and I are in sync right now. Yes, Dragon Quest is much higher because not only did it influence Undertale, it was one of the games that influenced Undertale, but it influenced Earthbound. It influenced Final Fantasy. Dragon Quest is the OG, but that's a lot higher on my list. Joey, that was an incredible prediction. So I do want to say, before you go crazy, similar to how you guys have certain games that I agree with above games that I disagree with, Dragon Warrior, the actual OG, is not overlooked in my list. I promise. But let me finish the list because it's much higher, as it should be, influencing games like Final Fantasy, Pokemon, Earthbound, Undertale, legacy games like that wouldn't exist without this game. So know that that's on the list much higher where it deserves to be. That should at least calm down some of the criticisms, James. Am I correct?
Eh,
It should at least calm some of them down.
I'm not gonna say
No?
what I was thinking. I'm not gonna say what I was thinking.
Can I say what I was thinking?
Okay.
Go for
Yes.
it.
Games can be influential, and other games can be influenced by previous games. I kind of think of it as like branching timelines, how
Yes. I agree.
certain TV shows were inspired by previous TV shows or co-inspired by other TV shows, and then it just continues going on. Like how we
Right.
wouldn't have Owl House or Big City Greens or all these other things if we didn't have shows like Flapjack or Foster's Home.
Right.
It's a branching timeline, and it's a branching yet converging whole thing where Undertale could not have existed without all Dragon Warrior, Final Fantasy, or Earthbound, and whoever knows how many other
Combined.
RPGs.
Exactly.
Yeah.
100%. Which is why Undertale's not on my list.
Yeah.
Because it's been too soon. It's only been 5-6 years since Undertale happened.
To be
That's not
fair,
enough time
Undertale-
to see how influential it is.
Yeah, but a lot of people still also know Undertale. Probably more than
That
other
doesn't mean
games
it's
that we've
influential.
listed.
That means it's popular. Which is slightly
I
different.
feel like
Influential means
the
what was
part
made
of it,
because of
though.
it.
Uh,
No.
No,
I mean, you could say
wouldn't.
it's the whole idea of social influencers, how they influence the public opinion, and how whatever they do becomes popular. Influence and popular is more closely related than you'd expect.
It is.
Because
correct.
it's not
They
like
are different.
exactly, but like they could influence things in different ways. Like Earthbound could influence the video game, like video games made, but games like Undertale could influence things outside the video game realm. Is what I'm saying.
But what has been influenced by Undertale as compared
of
in
Prince
relevance?
communities.
Wait, listen. As compared in success and relevance to the other games on our lists. It's not there yet. It hasn't had enough time to, marinate.
I'd say it's
sink.
probably also the most popular indie game of
If
all
we were
time.
doing most popular games, my list would be very different. Undertale would be in the top 10. If that's what you're concerned about. But popularity and influence is not the same.
I feel like
It's similar,
what I'm saying
but it's not the same.
is that I feel like Earthbound only touches, again, the gaming community, and Undertale is on a larger scale.
I agree. But it wouldn't be on that scale if not for Undertale and a few other games. Or it wouldn't be on that scale if not for Earthbound and a few other games. But I think Earthbound is a little bit more influential than Final Fantasy. Simply because it was the only good, real RPG on, the SNES.
I personally think.
But let me move on,
That's
because I'm only on number 8. I've got 7 left.
It's just.
All right, go on.
Go on.
Go.
Go. No. I'll fit it. I'll say it at the end of your list because I feel like it will be an
All right,
ongoing
so
theme.
we got number 10 is Metal Gear Solid, number 9 is Amnesia the Descent, and number 8 is Earth. Number 7 is Minecraft. James, your explanation is the exact reason for mine. Minecraft influenced so many kinds of games that have been successful. Garry's Mod, TFS, Terraria, all those sandbox games are successful because of Minecraft. And Minecraft is still popular and playable today because of how much you can do. I don't need to explain why Minecraft is. Number 6 is Super Mario Kart. because it showed before Luigi's Mansion how successful a spin-off can be. And in a totally different genre of games. You know, Super Mario Kart, I mean, how big are racing games? They're very big. My Mario Kart's still going. F-Zero was popular in the 2000s and 90s. You got Forza, you got Need for Speed, you got Burnout, you got, Diddy Kong Racing, you got a lot of stuff that are really good and multi-million-dollar sellers. Wouldn't really probably be as known if not for Mario Kart. Mario Kart is the definitive party game. I would say even more than Smash. Mario Kart, everyone plays it at parties. That's the multiplayer game. Kind of like how Wii Sports was on the Wii. That was the multiplayer game. And is, because it's been good throughout its entire history. I think that game led to the success of racing games. Even if it's not given that kind of credit. Number 5 is a bias pick. The only other bias pick that I think I have on this list. Secret of Mana, because I love action-based RPGs and action-based JRPGs. Secret of Mana was the first one that really did that well. Secret of Mana is kind of like a spin-off of Chrono Trigger and Final Fantasy and all that, style-wise, but instead of turn-based, it's action-based. And I love that. I love that it keeps the flow of the game without kicking you out and forcing you into a battle that is completely different from where you were before. I think that's great. And I think that led to a lot of the action RPGs as they are now. Number 4, as I promised, much higher than Earthbound, is Dragon Warrior, or as some people might know, Dragon Quest 1. Dragon Warrior came before Final Fantasy. The Final Fantasy director and developers are credited and quoted as saying that the game would not exist without Dragon Quest / Dragon Warrior. So it is directly relevant to the success of Final Fantasy, which is, also related to Earthbound because, both of those games are influenced by each other. So Dragon Quest 1 is just like a family tree. Like that's grandpa. That started the success. Then you have Final Fantasy, Earthbound, Pokemon as granddads and so great grandpas, Dragon Warrior and granddads. Then you have your Final Fantasy 7, your Chrono Trigger, your those ones. And it just keeps going. Eventually Undertale, all those style of games are the result of Dragon Quest 1, Dragon Warrior, revitalizing that style of games. That it was dying at that point in time. So Dragon Warrior is responsible for the success of RPGs to this day. That's one of the few games on this list that I will not budge on as something being more so than it in that genre. I just disagree with my own reasons. But number 3, so we're in the top 3. Number 3, I have Ocarina of Time. The only instance of a game coming after a game before it on this list being higher. Ocarina of Time is responsible for 3D games being the way they are. Ocarina and Mario 64 came out around the same time. I would say Ocarina holds up better.
Disagree.
That's fair, I know. I think Ocarina has much more substance than Mario 64, and I think the controls hold up better. I think they both suck in the water levels, but if you subtract the least common denominator, which is water levels for both games, I just think you can have much more fun with Zelda than Mario 64. And then Zelda 64 directly influenced, obviously, Majora 64, which I think is one of the best Zelda games, best adventure games, period. So, I think it just has a leg up. I think technically you could put Mario 64 ahead of it, but I just think it's so much more fun to play Ocarina than Mario 64 as intended. Both games have speed runs and glitches that people enjoy, but Ocarina as a full game on its own can still be enjoyed in its intent. Where Mario 64 is just, man, that camera is really like the killer for it.
Uh, hmm.
But I'm a sucker for camera. I need to be able to see what I'm doing at all times.
That is
Mario's
fair.
camera is not good.
I will agree with that, but the thing is, Mario Camera being not good is exponentially better than Ocarina of Time water levels being not good.
Yeah, but I think Mario's camera plus Mario's 60 like Mario's water levels plus just Ocarina of water levels. I think Mario's camera and water is worse
I think you're
combined
showing your
than just
bias because
Ocarina.
I remember.
I am. Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
I like Zelda more. Um, Obviously I'm gonna have a bias, but it's funny because I ignore my bias later on in the list, which is kind of funny. But as far as 3D games go, Ocarina takes the case for me. It's the most influential because consistently on best games of all time, you have Ocarina above Mario 64. However, you have Super Mario Bros. For the SNES above Ocarina. So Mario does still beat Ocarina, but 3D wise, I think Ocarina beats Mario. Now, so that's number 3 is Ocarina of Time. Number 2 is Doom. Best first person, most important first person shooter of all time. You guys mentioned it, even though you don't agree that it's the most influential, you agree that it's responsible for the ones that you put ahead of you. Call of Duty and Halo would not have existed without Doom.
I mean, the thing is, I put it on my list and didn't put Doom on there because I haven't played enough of Doom to have an opinion on it.
Right, which is fair. But James agreed with that. At least that it wouldn't have been a Call of Duty and Halo wouldn't have existed without Doom. Whether you believe Halo and Call of Duty have out influenced Doom is a different topic, but you would still agree that they wouldn't have existed, at least not in the way they were, if Doom had not existed. That's not a hard thing to argue.
Now, there's other first-person shooters before Doom, but it's just
But the
Iconic.
importance of
had a
Doom,
better
like you could
impact.
say Wolfenstein, yeah, you could say Wolfenstein, and I would agree, but it's got to be one of the two. But anyway, so Doom for me is 2. I think Doom did what it did and did what it needed to do at a time where video games are being very scrutinized for like causing violence, and Doom did what it did, was successful, and didn't lead to a crash. So I just, a little bias there. Number 1 is Super Mario Bros. Shocker. Super Mario Bros. Saved the video game industry as a whole. It is often credited as being along with the NES, being the reason why the video game industry was revived. It's not a secret, not hidden. That's a common fact or opinion that people have. As far as the amount of games influenced by it, obviously Mario has been influenced by it in its own way because Mario has changed so many times. Zelda was influenced. RPGs were influenced. Every video game was influenced by this one opportunity, like one property. It is the game people think of. So that's why I think Mario Bros. Is number 1. It single-handedly revived games.
Okay.
This is
Sorry, I let it
number
rip. Yeah, so I'll go through my list real quick.
Go for it.
Almost honorable mentions. Didn't quite make it to honorable mentions are Halo, Metroid, and Mario 64. Honorable mentions officially: Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney, Diablo 2, Pokemon Red and Blue, Legend of Zelda for the NES, Final Fantasy. Top 10: Metal Gear Solid, Amnesia: The Dark Descent, Earthbound, Minecraft, Mario Kart, Secret of Mana, Dragon Warrior, aka Dragon Quest 1, Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time, Doom the original, and Super Mario Bros. For the SNES.
It's the NES.
Or yeah, the Super Mario Bros. The original Super Mario Bros. Was that also on NES?
Only NES, though it did get re-released in the 3D All-Stars for SNES.
Okay.
Originally on NES. Okay, one thing I'm going to mention before James goes, because this is the only thing I have to mention, is you're talking about how Mario Kart influenced all these like racing games like Forza and whatever. You know what actually influenced those? People with cars and wanting to drive very
cars.
fast without actually killing themselves.
And actual go-kart racing.
Yeah.
That's pretty clever.
Now, I first want to start off with the fact that Pokemon isn't in your top 10, and so many games that you do have in there that I'm pretty sure no one's ever heard of is a fucking crime, and you should go to jail. Like, actually, to put this place for like just blatant slander against Pokemon.
Well, that's
I
just
also
because of. Sorry.
no. I
I could
I
switch
also
Pokemon with Earthbound, but I couldn't switch it with anything else.
I also want to say games have responsibility for their own success. Like,
Yes.
not every game influenced by like Earthbound succeeds to the level of Pokemon or Final Fantasy. In that sense of my my achievements aren't my father's in that sort of sense. Especially in the sense
Okay.
of like Pokemon, I feel has even though it was touched by things like Earthbound, I feel like Pokemon has touched so much more things than Earthbound has touched. Not just in video games, but in culture. I mean, general culture, not like video game culture. Like actual culture on like how society is made. Like it's
Mm,
that influential, you know.
You
I
can
feel
find
like it should be.
I
you can find
understand that,
Pokemon plushies nowadays,
but
but you
that's just
can't
because of
find
how much.
Earthbound plushies.
That's just
You
because of how much importance
will
I
not
put on
go.
what started it.
Not a single person in this world has is gonna go or has gone their entire life without seeing any kind of Pokemon thing. I feel like half the world does not know what Earthbound is.
More than that,
In that
crazy.
sense. Yes, exactly. In that sense, like
I agree.
I feel again, there are multiple games that should be on your list, and like a lot of them are like, yeah, they got the influence from it, but dear God, it's like okay, sure, they did that. I gotta. It's like so much of just like how I have to like pay homage to my ancestors because without them I wouldn't exist. But what if I literally save the entire fucking world? Is that their freaking? Is that their achievement too?
I did take the achievements and the influences of these games into account, but because of how highly I place influence in general and what started first, some of them just didn't outweigh it for me.
Honestly, if we could go,
But I will say I am willing. Earthbound being number 8 in my list is where the second most important RPG in my opinion belongs. That second most important RPG in my opinion is either Earthbound, Final Fantasy, or Pokemon. It is interchangeable. I can really genuinely see any of them in that list. Number 1 for me is always going to be Dragon Warrior as the most influential. But number 2 will always be number 8 on my influence list. It will always be number 8. Number 1 will always be number 4. But number 2 will always be number 8. I just picked Earthbound because I don't know. I guess I like it better, so it's a little biased there.
I also want to
But
point out I
but
feel like the only
I think Final Fantasy is number 3 regardless. I think either Earthbound or Pokemon are 2, and either Earthbound or Pokemon are 4.
I
I
would
do
say
think that
Final Fantasy. I would say even Final Fantasy VII is above like Earthbound in that sense. If
no,
I
you're
really
wrong.
want to go there, if I really want
No,
to go there in terms of just like
because the amount of games that are
because I
responsible
feel
for
you're
Final Fantasy. No.
only you're
You gave me your
only
critics.
thinking on the
Shut
scale of
up.
video
You gave
games.
me.
You're
Shut
only
up.
thinking on the scale of video
You gave
games.
no.
It is
You
these
gave me
games have
your.
touched outside of
You
that.
gave me your
Well, I wasn't
opinion
done giving my
based.
opinion. You're
All right,
interrupting it.
go on. I'm listening.
I feel like you're only on a scale of video games in terms of influence or influential in their scale,
I thought that was the point
which
of the
is
list.
no, no, dear Lord, no. In terms of scale, dear Lord, there's so many things that dwarf Earthbound, and
You're
there's
correct.
a lot of stuff on your list. Is what I'm saying.
Pokemon will be number 1 in that regard. Pokemon will be
Okay,
number 1
good.
in that regard.
Good thing we got that out of. Good thing we got that out of the way. Okay,
Can I at least mention one thing?
go for it.
I feel like if we didn't have the like previous or earlier than NES not allowed thing, there would be one game that I feel like would be very influential.
Pong.
Rogue.
Pong, Tetris, Pac-Man,
Sure,
Duck Hunt.
those are very influential, but do they have a genre defined around them like roguelikes?
Oh, I think-
Rogue kind of invented procedural generating things.
You're right.
Oh, no, you're wrong. Pong did the thing for sports games.
Oh
Just
my
on a very low
god.
scale.
The first one was
There's a
Tennis for Two.
contrary
Shut
thing.
up. Tennis for Two was the first one. Shut up.
Wow, I got Joey mad. I got Joey mad.
Let's go, Joey.
Literally,
First.
it's the whole thing of like whenever you hear a genre be called something like, it's game defining, like
You're right.
Metroidvania like.
Yeah.
Metroidvania,
Yeah.
there's roguelikes, there's
So why the fuck did you put Castlevania above Metroid if Metroid's mentioned first?
you know that my list is unordered, you piece of shit, you absolute dog shit human being. You will be fucking dead within 5 hours. I will kill you.
Joey, wow, this is this one. Wow, the real
Oh, yeah,
the real
dope.
podcast has started.
This is Joey behind the scenes.
This is me fucking tired on a Sunday night. You wanted this.
You're right.
Oh my lord.
I like how even when we disagree, we do agree, but we just miss. It just means we just didn't explain our points very well. Like we usually agree.
But it's very hard to do good words goodly.
Exactly.
So you have any other problems on my list?
No, if you're gonna only judge them off the scale that you do, sure.
You don't have any issue with like.
I have an issue. It was made by you.
I still have issues even by your thing, but it doesn't matter. But it doesn't matter.
You made it. That's the issue I have with it.
you made this list.
I've been lying to you this whole time. We're not friends.
Lord. Oh my god.
Nice.
Okay, I think we're all very loopy and want to go to sleep.
Yeah, I'm
I'm
ready to
already
go.
taking my medicine for tonight.
Hell yeah. So,
Oh my lord.
as always, thank you guys so much for watching. This has been a
Thank
very
you for
fun
listening to this
episode.
point.
You better fucking watch it. You didn't watch Star Fox, which I'm upset about. I know I said you wouldn't, but I didn't expect it to get 5 views. You know, that's kind of disappointing. Watch this one, or I'll come for you. Subscribe,
about
like
it.
it, leave a comment. Tell us how wrong you think we are. All right?
Tell us any
But as
games that we
always-
left out that are really influential. Please tell us.
Yeah. But as
Tell
always,
us why we're also wrong.
yes. But as always, my name is Mike,
I'm James.
And I'm Joey.
and we will see you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thanks for watching. Or listening,
Adios.
rather.